Thank you for joining us again. This is the monthly Parkinson's education telehealth, and the Parkinson's Resource Center is very happy to welcome Ruth Palnick today to speak. I'm going to I want to give a little notice real quick about a program that's coming up in Spokane on the 28th of February. If you can come into Spokane to come to the program, it's going to be Parkinson's Diagnosis, Medication, and Treatments with Dr. Daniel Burdick out of Booth Gardner. Non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's with Jamie Mark out of Northwest Neurological, and cognitive and psychological aspects of PD with Dr. Daryl Volweiler. And again, that is Friday the 28th, and that's going to be from 1 to 4 p.m. As always, there's no cost, but we do ask that you register, and there is a lunch provided. So if you have any questions, I went through that pretty quick. Just call the Parkinson's Resource Center or go to our website or our Facebook pages. And we'll do like we always do every month that we can all make it here. We'll go ahead and do the presentation, and at the end we'll go down the list and check in with everybody and get questions. So I'm going to pass this over to Ruth.
Well, hi, I'm so glad. Can you all hear me? Oh, good. My mom comes to a lot of the things that I speak in and travels with me sometimes, and she does this. And that's the sign that I have faded off, which I tend to do. So if I see you do this, I'll know. But this is a really good mic, and I thank the sound guys for helping me set this up. In early December, I took a tumble and tore some ligaments and tendons in my foot. And it was really painful, and I was stuck with this crazy boot. And then Christmas, I fell again, and the doctor said, now you know the 8 weeks starts over. And I thought, darn. And it occurred to me at the time that when people think about Parkinson's, what do you think the first thing is that comes into their mind? They think of shaking, tremor. And tremors look weird, but they're really not dangerous, from my perspective anyway. What is more dangerous is the Parkinson's loss of balance. I think that's a much bigger issue, and that's a real issue with me. And at this point, I fall pretty well usually, and I can catch myself quickly, but I know that's an issue. So it got me thinking there's a lot of things people may not understand or have different ideas about. So we started talking about myths and misconceptions, but then it was Valentine's Day, and I thought, I want us to really address the things to our loved ones that maybe they don't understand. And so this is just kind of a chat. And I have things prepared, and I have a few notes, but I'm a real low-tech speaker, and I like to tell stories. So, in fact, I was going to say that having a tremor can be kind of helpful. I fly a lot with my work, and if you want to get on the plane fast, just let that tremor go. Just let it go. And they don't know up at the desk that if I grabbed onto my suitcase with my left hand and put my ticket in my right hand, it would be perfectly steady. But I switch. And so I'm up there, and my ticket's rattling away, and they want to get you off because they're embarrassed for you. I'm not embarrassed, but they're embarrassed. So a little hint, if you want to get on even before first class, just let it loose. Okay, I started off with a point about nagging. Nagging doesn't help. And if you've tried to, maybe you don't call it, you just call it reminding, and that you're reminding your loved one who has Parkinson's, stand up straight, or whatever it is you want us to do. I had a friend following me a few weeks ago, and she came up to me, she said, "You're walking like someone who has Parkinson's." And I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "I know, but you didn't do that before." And I said, "Well, there are changes. It's been almost 15 years. So, yeah, I'm going to walk a little differently now." I said, "And I have, but you just didn't notice it." But the problem is that those of you who are caregivers know that the reason nagging doesn't work is because one of the biggest changes that happen with this disease is that we lose our autopilot. We lose that automatic sense that tells you what to do. It goes away. So you're walking down the street and you just step up on that curb, and really it doesn't even flash in your conscious level. You don't even think about it. When I first was diagnosed, I was tripping on everything. I can trip on the least little tiny thing. My friend wanted to make me a t-shirt that says, "Caution, I trip on lint." And I do, and all the scatter rugs are gone from my house because it occurred to me that I have to tell my foot to lift when I come to that curb. And you don't have to do that. You don't think about that for any other reason. And there's just a lot of things. It's getting to the point sometimes where I'm a fast eater. It comes from being a nurse for so many years, and you have 10 minutes for lunch. And so that's my excuse anyway. And so you just eat really fast, and I'm finding I'm choking a little more. And so I have to tell myself to slow down. I have to tell myself to swallow carefully. I have a friend who says she has to remind herself to blink. People with Parkinson's don't blink very much. If you watch Michael J. Fox on TV, he has quite a stare on him, and you'll notice he doesn't blink. There's a guy in the pool that I swim with, and I talked to his wife. When you're walking back and forth in the pool, you can get to talk to people quite a bit, and I'm sure her husband has Parkinson's, but she says he doesn't, but I think he does. And one of the biggest signs is the not blinking. But the swallowing thing, I live alone, so that could be dangerous. I've been lately practicing how to do the Heimlich maneuver by myself. Have you ever tried to do that? You bang your belly over a chair and hope that whatever is caught in your throat pops out. So I'm working on practicing that. The problem with telling someone repeatedly, stand up straight, lift your head, pick up your feet, is that it doesn't really work for very long. And the reason for that is because we can't hold that in our head all the time. If I'm sitting down to write a letter, the first paragraph looks pretty good. But I'm getting into what I'm saying, and the next thing I know, the print is shrunk down to about this high, and it's fallen off the paper. And I can tell myself, make a bigger loop, write bigger. But then I lose track of what I'm trying to write and communicate. And so it's hard to do that. When you have to keep reminding yourself, that's what gets exhausting. If I have to constantly remember and remind myself, then it interferes with what else I'm trying to do, what else I'm trying to think. There's an exception to this rule about the no nagging rule. If your loved one with Parkinson's gives you permission to nag about something, then it's okay. When I turned 50, I told my mom, you can no longer discuss my weight with me. I've been dieting for 40 years. It ends now. I'm going to keep dieting, I'm going to keep working, but you cannot bring it up anymore. I said, but you can encourage me to exercise. And you might want to give in on that, you with Parkinson's, and give your loved one the right to encourage you to exercise, to nag you to exercise. Because I just think it's more helpful probably than most of the meds you take, and I just think it's so critical that we do that. Find something that works in terms of exercising. So when you lose your autopilot, whatever is wrong with our brain, and I'm not going to go into all the medical jargon about it, but it stops us from being able to do 2 things at once. And 3 things is really difficult, and 4 is impossible, as you're going to see later when I try and sing to you. I can fix whatever it is you're bugging me to do, but I can't fix it for very long. So something just to keep in your mind. Secondly, I want to talk about fatigue. It's my biggest problem. And I was so delighted when Michael J. Fox turned 50, and he'd had this Parkinson's for, I think, since he was 34 or 35 by then. Hey, Tammy. And they put him on the cover of Good Housekeeping magazine, which is very rare that they put a man on the cover of Good Housekeeping anyway, but they put him on, and the interviewer said, what is your biggest problem in dealing with Parkinson's? And he said, it's the part we don't talk about. It's the fatigue. And I remember putting down the magazine and jumping up and going, yay, he's right, somebody's got it. Because it is a huge, huge issue. But it's hard to explain that because everybody's overworked, everybody's stressed, everybody's maxed out, and everybody's tired. The fatigue with Parkinson's is not being tired. It's not being so sleepy. It's not something that, as my mother kept telling me, if you would just quit puttering around till midnight and go to bed at 10 o'clock, you wouldn't be so tired. Wrong. How many of you have heard that? It's a huge problem. And there's a lot of people describe it differently. People have different reasons for why they are fatigued. Ian Riley, who was here last month, said to me once, I remember a couple years ago, he said, oh, he's working hard, and he says, oh, I'm toast by 4. And I said, yeah, me too. I understand it. But I also have some friends who have Parkinson's who get up and they eat breakfast and then they go back to bed. Or they stretch on the couch and drop off again. And that's, it affects everybody in a different way. One thing we do know is that because our brain fumbles that's a football analogy, just in case in case I'm losing you guys. One thing that our brain stumbles at that point in as far as trying to make yourself do more things at once, and it's exhausting. And that's the bottom line. It's tiring to have to keep telling yourself what to do. We don't work very efficiently anymore. It just takes forever to get anything done. Everything's slowed down. Every action requires an effort. And that's tiring. The song that I'm going to sing to you has a line in it that says, I so miss my autopilot. Every act demands a plan. And you have to think about it, and you have to bring it into your mind and work it through. So it's easier sometimes to just not bother. A lot of this can be caused by, fatigue is also caused by depression. Dr. Santiago used to say that 60% of the people with Parkinson's are chemically depressed and the other 40% are lying. And I think that's a little bit overkill, but he surely believes that. The chemical changes in our brain, it's not just that loss of dopamine that is the neurotransmitter that tells your brain, tells your muscles what to do. You've also lost serotonin and the other chemicals that are the ones that jazz you up. They're the ones that lift your spirits. There's the one that lift your mood. They allow you to keep going and keep on going on. But so if you're feeling blah, there's just a real fine line between feeling blah and just being fatigued and being tired. It's exhausting to have to continually pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. And it's just too hard sometimes. Putting on a cheerful affect when your face doesn't really want to smile. And that's troubling to people. I wake up every morning and go in the bathroom and smile and thank God that I can still smile. And I hope to keep doing that. I was looking, do you guys know George Strait? I saw an article on him in a magazine, and it just struck me. He's a handsome guy. Wow. What a handsome man, singer, George Strait. And they had a lot of pictures of him. And then I turned another page, and there was a picture of him, and he was just real solemn. And I thought, oh, he's not handsome at all. So a smile can make a huge difference. And so if you don't feel like smiling, or if your face just doesn't smile much anymore, we get this mask of Parkinson's, they call it, this flat affect. That's another thing that's going to make you feel tired because you have to work at being cheerful. My doctor told me, he says, you put on a happy face better than anyone I know. And I said, yeah, but I don't feel that way. It's just that when you're kind of been I'm 60 now, your whole life you've been a happy, positive, upbeat person, people keep expecting that of you. My mom says, don't comb your hair, don't put on makeup, then you'll look sick. And nobody will expect you to be like you've always been. You guys have to meet my mom. She's a And, and it's true because I feel so sometimes that there's only certain people I can be honest with. Because other people say, I had a woman tell me a few weeks ago, I said, that wasn't really very genuine. I wasn't really feeling that great that day when I was speaking. She said, oh no, she says, don't say that. I said, why not? She said, because I admire what you do. And I said, don't admire me. I said, I would rather that I could be honest with you. And she looked right at me. She says, well, you can't be. And I said, I know that now. And that was very honest on her part. But it's a little unfair. And that's a big part of the fatigue. I always feel like I'm disappointing people. So work with your doctor. Try and find, there are meds out there that can help you. Try and make sure you have somebody, if it's not your spouse, but someone that you can bare your soul with and someone you can be honest with. Are we doing it? Oh, good. I'm glad you're taking care of that because I've ignored it. Be open about it. Otherwise, you'll just wear yourself out. Okay, we've covered nagging, fatigue, depression. Okay, I want to talk about something that's totally misunderstood and not addressed almost at all. Number 3, don't take it personally when I don't care anymore about someone or something that I used to care about. I recommend you all get this book. I've read probably 20 books on Parkinson's, and this is the best. This is the best one. You didn't do handouts.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got the address. I mean, the name and the publisher and everything. This is the 2007 version. He just came out with a second edition. Interestingly enough, what 2 chapters did he expand in the new edition? Fatigue and apathy. Nobody talks about apathy. It's a huge problem. And it's one that's so mystifying, and I'll tell you right at the offset, there's no treatment for it. But we're going to discuss it. Apathy is defined as lacking interest or emotions in people or activities that used to fascinate me. Things that I used to enjoy, things that I used to like. That part of my brain that's motivating has gone awry. And depression can play a role in this, but overall, apathy is not depression. I've had to work hard to convince my neurologist that I am not depressed, but I have apathy. And there are times that I don't care about getting off the couch. And I'll be really, oh, my mom's going to watch this. Oh, dear. There are times that I could sit for 2 hours and play solitaire on my phone. What a waste of time. But, it kind of engages your brain a little bit, so I can sort of justify it. Not really. But this is what I hear from people. He just doesn't want to do anything. Or they'll say, she doesn't even seem interested in her grandchildren. In fact, her grandchildren are irritating to her. These are, and you can see that disappointment on their little faces because grandma or grandpa isn't what they used to be like. And that's really hard. And so you can imagine how the person with Parkinson's feels because they just can't get up enough gumption. The thing about apathy is that after a while, you get to a point where you don't care that you don't care. And right now, I have those periods of not caring, but they bother me, which is a good thing. Because time is going to come when I don't care that I don't care. And I know it's hurting other people. I know they're disappointed. Tough. This is the best I can do. And I have days like that occasionally when I just can't get it together. That doesn't mean our intellect has stopped working. That doesn't mean we can't read the paper and make sense of it. It's just a lack of being able to bring up enough emotion into the picture to make it worthwhile showing, expressing, and discussing what's going on. I may be very troubled that my lack of caring bothers my loved one. But really, there's points where there's nothing much you can do about that. So there's really no treatment for apathy. There can be a depression component that's there, so that's certainly worth addressing. There are meds, but it's really very misunderstood and certainly not diagnosed and certainly not discussed. So he does a good job in the second edition of discussing this.
Yeah, can you hold that?
I'm going to hold it up. Can you see it? Joseph Friedman is the doctor, and it's called Brain and Behavior, or Making the Connection Between Brain and Behavior. And it talks about apathy, depression, fears, nightmares, all those things that go on in your head, not so much the physical stuff, the stumbling and the walking. And it's published by Demos Health, but just say Brain and Behavior, Dr. Friedman, and I got it at Barnes & Noble.
And
Sure.
We'll get a copy.
Okay.
We'll if we don't already have a copy, which we should, we'll get at least one copy.
It's really the best book, the most awesome book. But let me just encourage you, because even though there's no treatment for apathy, one of my doctors told me the best approach you can take to Parkinson's is awareness. Just being aware that this is part of the whole continuum of what we face with Parkinson's, just knowing about it, knowing that it's part of what you're going to face, part of what's part of the disease. Being aware is a great help, and being aware that you're struggling with that. Just knowing it's part of what makes up this whole constellation of symptoms is significant. I wrote other little notes down. Let's see. All right. Let's talk a little bit about sleep. How many have trouble sleeping? Oh, lots. And how many people with Parkinson's have trouble sleeping? No, that's a joke. It's called EDS, or excessive daytime sleepiness, and it means I fall asleep when I don't want to, and I can't fall asleep when I want to fall asleep. Not to mention leg cramps. Anybody have leg cramps? Restless legs, pain, positional discomfort. I love, this is really personal, but I love flannel sheets. But a few years ago, I learned that if I'm going to sleep with flannel sheets, I can't also have a flannel nightgown, because I'd just be glued in one position. I can't turn. And people with Parkinson's, we have a hard time mobilizing, so you can imagine turning over when we're flat on our back is really tough. It's hard to do. So now I wear slippery things to bed, and that has helped. But sleeping is a difficult thing. Usually if we're engaged in doing something, we're not sleepy. If you're driving the car, you probably won't fall asleep. But if you're a passenger, goodbye, because you're gone. As a passenger in the car, it's easy to drop off. Medications play a big role. Those dopamine agonists that are wonderful drugs, and they're kind of the first line, and some people later on keep taking them, sometimes just at night. I was working then, I'm still working, but I would be driving along and I would feel myself going, okay, I need to stop right now because I'm falling right asleep. They're called sleep attacks. And so those can make you drowsy too. So I didn't stay on those for very long, but a lot of people get help taking one of those just at night. That helps the restless leg and everything. Talk with your doctor. There's sleeping meds, but before you do that, try the things like having a bedtime routine, having a glass of warm milk if that helps you, trying to get off the computer and off the TV an hour before you're going to go to sleep to let your brain cool down a little from all that flashing that's going on in your face. Try these other non-traditional kinds of things to do, but talk with them. You may need to experiment. It may take you several tries to find the right combination of meds, because some of them help you go to sleep, some of them help you stay asleep, some of them may not work for you at all. So be patient and try these other kinds of things first. The other thing is with the fatigue is that, and the sleep it's very affected by taking naps during the day. If you're bored and feeling blah and you are sitting on the couch holding the remote and blinking and breathing, you're probably going to drop off to sleep, because that's what happens. And if you are taking long naps and if you sleep from 4 to 6, forget about falling asleep at 10. You're not going to fall asleep that night. So maybe limit your napping, 15, 20-minute naps, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, but don't go very late because it'll really interfere with your nighttime sleeping. Okay. I'm going to try to drink a coffee. Number 5, while having Parkinson's is a pain in the neck for me, I really know it is for you too, who are caregivers. We know now that there are many different kinds of Parkinson's, and they used to think it was just one disease, but there's really different types and they vary quite a bit. The things I've talked about today may be nothing that affect you at all. They may not even appear on your radar. You may have other completely different concerns and problems that you deal with. Everybody does the whole thing differently. But you know, that's really true in life too. Everybody is facing something. You may have Parkinson's, but your neighbor may have kids in jail. They may be troubled in their marriage. There's a lot that you're struggling with. And I remember hearing about a study they did on people with Parkinson's, and they compared it to people with MS in terms of how it affected your marital relationship. And interestingly enough, the people with Parkinson's, because it tends to come at a later date when you're older, those marriages seem to be less impacted because they were solid to begin with and they kept on going. And plus, when you're older, you sort of expect things to start going wrong. But when you're younger, and they found that the people with MS who tend to get that in their 30s had a much higher incident of a disrupted marriage because of the disease. So older people actually bend and adapt to this better than younger couples. In many cases, they've done studies because it's not what we expect. We in our minds still think of Parkinson's as being an older person's disease. And so when it affects someone who's younger, my friend Sally here, for years kept playing softball. And I was always amazed that she did that because I'm, first of all, not an athlete like she is, but the thought of even doing that was just impossible. But you know, you can do something that will help you. And something, if you can do it together as a couple, that's a really good thing too. The other thing I would recommend is to availing yourself of the support groups that are around, being able to participate in that. It's hard when you're younger because some of us are still working. And frankly, it'd be great to do a Young Onset Parkinson's group, but if it has to be at night, once I'm home, I'm not leaving. And I don't know about you, but when I get home from work, I don't want to go back out again. That takes a lot. It has to be something really special that usually involves food. Anyway, to get out again is difficult. But you might want to try what's happened, what we've done, and that's put together just maybe a small group of people, 3 or 4 of you. And you might find, if you're flexible and able to just kind of adjust to everybody's schedule, that may be a small group that's helpful to you. You may find that you need to work at talking more openly to your spouse or to your caregiver. And maybe you need some help with those communication skills. You may need a therapist or a pastor or somebody who can help facilitate that. Because aside from being aware of what's going on in your body and in your mind, that's part of your body, but emotionally and mentally, it really helps to be aware and to be able to talk with your loved ones about this. Secondly, and finally, I want you to give some thought to considering your spiritual life. There may be, I was Sally gave me a book, and it was little biographies about 25 people with Parkinson's, and they were discussing how they coped with it. And they were very artistic, they were creative, they did a lot of things that were very helpful to them. But I was shocked at how many of them, such a huge percentage of them, had a faith journey that was important to them. You may have gone to catechism or Sunday school as a kid, and maybe, with the cabin and going to the lake like we do in Spokane here, you may have gotten away from that. And I would encourage you, St. Augustine said that we all have a God-shaped need in our heart, and whoever God is to you. But we try and fill that need with a lot of other things. And so just a little hint that maybe you want to explore that, and that may be a good thing for you. Okay, we're going to have questions, but first of all, I'm going to sing you a song. I'm really sorry. I used to play the auto harp, but it got too heavy to haul around, and so I switched to ukulele, which is really light. And, first of all, I quit doing this because it was too hard. And one thing we're not good at with Parkinson's is we're lousy at multitasking. So here I am, trying to sing the words, sing the melody, play the chords, and do it in front of groups of people. And I just about gave up. I thought, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep working at it and trying to do it. And it's not perfect, and I'm not great. That's okay. I don't care. But I was thinking of that whole ability to multitask that wants to just slither out the door on us. And it reminded me, you may not know, I was a missionary nurse in Honduras for 10 years. And I remember going into homes, and I would see they had these old gas ranges, but nobody had a refrigerator. And all the women there had a pot of beans on the back burner. They didn't keep it simmering. It was just sitting there. And I said, what in the world? How can you have that pot of beans sit there for a whole week and have it not spoil? And finally, I learned, the women said, we bring it to a boil every day for 10 minutes. And then you can eat it day after day without refrigerating it, as long as you bring it to a boil for 10 minutes every day. And I thought, that's a perfect analogy. This is your new mantra. Write this down. Bring your brain to a boil 10 minutes every day. Make yourself for 10 minutes do something that's uncomfortable, something new, something that challenges you, something that makes you be multitasking. Find something. It's probably not going to be a ukulele, but it might be an instrument. It may be learning a new skill, but try and do that, and I guarantee it'll help you hang on to that ability to do more than one thing at a time. And that's a real important part. So this is my PD song. I wrote this several years ago, but I just was walking in the pool and decided it was too Pollyanna-ish and I needed a second verse. So I saved the first part of the first verse, wrote a new second part of the first verse, put the end of the first verse onto the end of the second verse, and wrote a new second part of the first verse. Anyway, and so here goes. Let me see. All together, my dog has fleas. No. All right, we'll call it good. Oh, wait, got to get the music.
And it's up on the screen behind you by everybody else.
Oh, just like every egotistical songwriter, I put the words up so you would have them because I don't want you to miss any. Right. Okay, this is to the tune of When Irish Eyes Are Smiling. I did this really well at home. I'll slow down. My hands begin to tremble or stiffen up, and my feet stick to the floor. This old face forgets to smile. Folks can't hear me anymore. I sure miss my autopilot each morning with a reason to stay strong. Tell a joke and eat your veggies. At a dance, a walk, a song. Reach out to help the struggler. Guard your faith and you will see that each day contains a blessing. Life can still be great with PD. All right. Now the hard part. Don't ask me really, really hard questions because I'm about spent here.
And she's spent.
She's spent.
So when you were, I don't know if you guys can hear me, when you were talking about the smile part, I just saw a picture of George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr., and he has vascular Parkinson's. And the first thing I noticed about George Bush Sr. was his smile, because you could tell he was making sure that he was smiling, because otherwise his face, and it was this really tight, but he was trying to make it smile. It made me think of that when you said that. Good for him. So just made me think about that. So we're going to start at the top. Can you hear me okay? Go ahead, and as we're get to you, unmute your mic. Let us know how many people you have with you today, and we're always very thankful for everybody. So if I forget to do that with each one and say thank you, I'm very thankful that you're there, and so are we. We're going to start with Anchorage, Alaska, Providence Medical Center. And if you can't get on and I skip you, or I skip you somehow, just holler in at the end. Billings, Montana. Chewelah, Providence, St. Joseph.
Hi, it's just me. One.
Hi. Do you have any questions?
No, I found what she said very fascinating. You know, as a nurse, I keep thinking, well, how am I going to, end up? And I don't know, my choice is Parkinson's, so it's nice to know.
Well, thank you for attending today. And you're in Chewelah, is that correct? Oh, yep, I can see you. Okay. Well, we have to send some more people up there to watch with you. Clarkston, Tri-State Memorial Hospital.
Yeah, hi Cindy. We have 8 here today. Because it snowed, we would have had more otherwise. No questions, except we'd like a copy of the verses.
And I believe Ruth was absolutely fine with that. Or
Sure.
Are you okay with that?
Okay, great. Thanks, Ruth.
Okay, John, I'll write a note to send you a copy of in email.
All right, thanks, Cindy.
Take care, you guys. You had no school.
Bye.
Did you have no school down there today?
Just a late start.
Late start. Well, take care. Okay, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, Kootenai Medical Center.
We have 4 here, and beautiful snow at Lake Coeur d'Alene.
Well, thank you for making it there today. Did you get quite a bit starting today, too?
Yes, we got dumped on.
Well, thank you for making it through the dumped-on snow. And Colville, Providence, Mount Carmel.
We have 3 today, and we really enjoyed the presentation. Otherwise, no questions.
We want a copy of that, of the script, of the song.
Oh, we want a copy of the song, too. If you can send it to Heather, she'll get it to me.
I will write a note right now to send it to Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. And Kirkland, Evergreen Healthcare. Sometimes they check in, but they then check out. Miles City, Montana.
Yes, this is Miles City, and we have 7 of us here today, and left the dog home. It's too cold. Anyway, I wanted to tell Ruth that that we was really inspired by her message and thanked her for bringing up things that we don't normally talk about. Apathy being one of them. And a beautiful song too, Ruth. A beautiful song. We enjoyed that.
Thank you.
You're supposed to speak in.
I write most of my lyrics walking in the pool, so.
Yeah.
These are the speakers that pick up the sound.
Is that Anchorage? Do we want to?
Yeah.
Anchorage. Hey, Anchorage. Hello.
Hello. No.
How many do we have in Anchorage today?
We have 8.
8 and no snow.
No snow. You send it all down to us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Do you have any questions today?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you so much for being there and for checking in. Let's see. We're going to hop down to Moses Lake Samaritan Healthcare.
Hi, there are 4 of us here today. We really enjoyed everything about it, Ruth. I do have one question about exercise. I was told by a friend in Seattle about pedaling for Parkinson's, and no one ever seems to mention that. Do you know anything about it?
Go ahead, Cindy.
So
I think biking and pedaling is probably really good for people with PD.
yeah, one thing, I think Ruth said this too, any exercise for any of us to keep moving is good. Most of the time doctors recommend walking for people who don't have Parkinson's necessarily, but as you know, walking can sometimes become an issue with Parkinson's. And so if you can get on a stationary bike of any kind, recumbent seems to work out best if you can find those. Cycling on a recumbent bike at any level is helpful and keeps you moving. But the Pedaling for Parkinson's program, I don't know where it started out, but I thought I just read it started out in Seattle. But what they do is they bring that into the Ys in different areas. And I think you and I might have emailed about that, but they are just trying to get one off the ground in Spokane, Pedaling for Parkinson's. But it's how that started here in Spokane is one of our Parkinson's constituents who goes to the Y went to their exercise athletic director and said, hey, what the heck, why don't you guys bring Pedaling for Parkinson's to Spokane? And they looked into and what they're trying to do in Spokane is they're trying to offer Pedaling for Parkinson's for everybody, even if you don't have a membership to the Y. But the class size at the one here is kind of small. So you stay in touch with me because we're working on bringing it here. And I can send you information about pedaling that you can take to the Y and see if they can program can start there.
We don't have a Y, but
I looked up a
no,
Y.
not in Moses Lake. We have just a health club, but I do it. Try to do it 5 to 6 times a week, 40 minutes at 80 to 90 RPMs, and I really can tell that the stiffness is gone. It just really makes a difference.
They say there's something about the repetition of the pedaling that is especially good for people with Parkinson's.
So I have some information about starting just a pedaling program, but if you need help maybe trying to start even a cycling support, if you want to call it that, I don't like necessarily, but a cycling support.
That would be good.
Email me at center@SpokaneParkinsons.org.
Sure. Okay. And we would also like the words to the song. That was wonderful. Thank you, Ruth.
You're most welcome. I'm so glad you came.
In my email list, who should I send it to at Moses Lake?
Well, I know my name's Dee Schwab, and you're sending it to me.
Perfect, Dee. I just wanted to make sure I got it.
And then I can send it to the rest.
Okay, thank you, Dee. I just wanted to make sure I got it to the right person to start.
Thank you very much.
Well, take care.
Thank you.
And Pendleton.
Just 2 of us, me and my dog.
Yay.
Okay, we can see you.
He's
Where's the
sleeping,
dog?
Bertha.
Oh, got him in your lap. I think this is the first time I remember getting to see the pup, but thank you for joining us today. And did you have any questions?
None. She hit the nail on the head as far as I'm concerned. I'm one of those with the sleep problem. I take the nap in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Port Townsend, Jefferson Healthcare. We know they checked in, but they might not have had anybody come in. If you're there, go ahead and break in and at the end. Pullman Regional Hospital.
There are 7 of us here today, and we all agreed that this discussion was most helpful. We would definitely like a copy of the song. Please send, if you can send it to Phyllis Betras at she lives in Moscow.
Okay, yep. I have Phyllis's contact, and I will email that to her also.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
And we'll get Ruth some royalties off of all these couple dollars. Thank you so much for joining us today, Pullman. We really appreciate it. And Tenasket, North Valley Hospital.
We're here. There's 2 of us. Okay. What is Ruth's last name? I didn't get that.
Palnick. P-A-L, like pal, like friend, and then N-I-C-K, like Santa Claus, Saint Nick. P-A-L-N-I-C-K.
We didn't have any questions, but we thoroughly enjoyed your presentation. I think you demonstrate how humor can get you through a little bit, and your honesty. We also wanted a copy of your words to your song.
Okay.
And we appreciate people that come forward.
Thank you so much for coming.
All right.
Who should I send the email to in your...
Probably to me, but I'd have to give you my address. Is that okay right now?
You can, or you can write down it on the flyers that you get. There's the email address center at Spokane Parkinson's. If you send me one, I'll send you the lyrics back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
very much.
You guys take care. Do we have any other sites? Spokane, do we have any questions in Spokane?
Want to know the name of the book.
Name of the book. And we stole it from Ruth, so.
Tim's going to try to put up a graphic.
Is he going to put up a graphic for the other sites? Okay. But here, I'll let you.
How do you spell Friedman? It's by Dr. Joseph Friedman, F-R-I-E-D-M-A-N. F-R-I-E-D-M-A-N. Making the connection between brain and behavior.
And we will see, if we don't already have a copy, we'll see if we can get a couple more copies at the Resource Center also, so that you can check them out.
Amazon has it. It's downloaded to my Kindle, the new version. Get the new edition, 2013, second edition.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming in all this snow.
If you have any questions, let me know at the Resource Center. Next month is Dr. Emery with Northwest Neurological. Dr. Emery is not a neurologist. He is a doctor of preventative medicine, and he's going to be talking about, it's going to be kind of both veins of it. It's preventative medicine for caregivers, and then how preventative medicine kind of hopefully will stop or slow down the process or lower the process of actually getting things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. But should be, I just actually went through his program, and it's pretty interesting. So and it's a program that's not just local. He does it here, but there's other places that you can do it. So we'll see you here next month, March the 10th. Thank you so much.